All right, Ms. Fujimoto, can you describe yourself and what you teach at SHSU?
So my name's Ava Fujimoto Strait, and I am a biogeographer, and I teach geography courses at SHSU.
I'm John Strait, Dr. Strait, but I'm going to go by John as far as this is concerned. I'm a human geographer, broadly trained. I have a lot of interests. I would say I have intellectual ADHD. I think that my primary interest is dealing with race and music and social movements and the intersection of those.
What made you want to pursue an academic career into higher ed?
So my father was a professor for a little bit. He was in academia and then he moved to government. But I always saw him give speeches and lectures, and as a young girl, I knew from age 5 that that's what I wanted to do. But interesting story, I actually guest lectured for one of his classes when I was in graduate school. And it was to like a theater of 250 students. And after that day, I knew for sure that I wanted to be in higher ed.
This is one of those times where my answer is extremely different. I had no idea that this is what I wanted to do until probably I was doing it, actually. I always say, this is not to make this too long, but anything I knew about a college professor I learned from Gilligan's Island. And I wanted to be the skipper, not the professor. I think I just like to learn. At some point when I was your all's age, or your college student's age, knew that I really liked to learn. And learning is like one of those things like good food. You want its best when you share it. So that's why I'm here. That's kind of what I'm all about, I guess.
How would you describe the geography faculty and the environment around the department?
We have a very diverse faculty. So we're geography and geology, but we're in the Department of Environmental and Geosciences. And so we have faculty that do all range of things, from human geography to physical or environmental geography, and then we have the geologists that look at landforms and rocks and minerals and oceanography and things of that sort. I love it. There's young faculty, there's older faculty, and I think we all get along pretty well.
I think I would add one of the things in terms of diversity. We could talk about where we're from. We're all from different parts of the world, but we're also different personalities, right? That go beyond, have nothing to do with our background or our academic training, that make it a pretty interesting place to work.
There's a unique blend behind class and travel experiences students within these courses. Can you describe the ways these experiences are enriching the students?
Mind if I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think, in a general sense, traveling is an educational experience. For all of us. I may not approach it that way, but it's almost unavoidable. No offense meant to anybody, but our students tend to be fairly provincial, maybe more so than your average college student. So just taking a group of people to a place they've never been, fundamentally is educational. I would say education at its very heart is learning something that you don't know. So when you're doing a field class, going someplace you don't know, you're going to learn things that we didn't even have the intent that you learn. So I think that's one of the things that makes it enriching to students. And also, we like to think that a student can learn from a place and then come to the realization that you can learn from any place, right? So whether you're with us or not. So we like to think that's something you teach. In a way, we're teaching students a different way to learn and a different way to think. And we hope to think that carries with them.
I think a lot of the faculty in our department take students out in the field, do a lot of hands-on thing. So one of the things I was thinking about when I was thinking about this interview was when I was in my undergrad, we had a remote sensing class, which is gathering data from airplanes or satellite imagery. And our professor actually arranged for us to go in a Cessna plane, which is a 4-passenger airplane. The door was off. We flew up in the air and we had to take aerial photos. And for aerial photos, you have to be perpendicular to the ground so that you can make accurate measurements. And just being able to physically do that, stick your head outside of an airplane, take these pictures, which of course didn't come out well, but just going through the process made it more real and exciting to study rather than just sitting in class and listening to the lecture. So just that hands-on, doing it yourself, knowing what the process is, I think is really important, whether it's traveling or in a lab or on a field course.
I would add a little more. I got to. I'm sorry. You're in my wheelhouse here. I think any kind of learning experience should be collective, right? And you can't avoid the collectiveness when you're in a field course. Ask your colleague over here. So you learn not only from what you see and experience, you learn from who you're with, and that probably it might be some of the best things that you get out of any kind of course like that. A perfect example is I'm no longer Dr. Strait. I'm the dude brushing his teeth with you in the morning. So there's a little bit of exposure to one another that can be shocking to some people, but I think that all of a sudden we're all the same. We learn from each other very easily. There's a little inhibitions go away, and that typically is good for any kind of learning experience.
All right, so the final one, do you have a general philosophy to teaching undergraduates?
Let me answer that.
I have one too.
Okay, well, I think mine, I like to think that I try to create an environment where there's this idea that we are learning together. That can come from, usually when I refer to a class, I'll refer to our class, not mine. Or this is what we are doing. And that's partly because I'm selfish. I mean, I do this because I'm learning, right? It's far better if I'm learning from other people and I'm not doing I'm not so much teaching as we're learning together. I may be more responsible for creating the environment, I guess, but I think that's a philosophy I try to instill in the classroom. And usually if people feel they're part of it, they can take ownership of it as, hey, I got something to contribute here. You like to think that makes them more responsible. I'm going to come to class and I'm going to pay attention, but also that I have a role in this. And usually if we're all in a role together, it usually raises all boats, I think. So people tend to get more out of it if they feel like they're not being taught as much as we're learning together.
Very good. I have the same philosophy. In addition, I think being approachable, I think, is really important. And I think a lot of times there's this barrier between a student and a faculty member when there shouldn't be. I mean, you should be able to ask any question. And, if you're not understanding something or you need more information or you want to learn more about something, I think us being approachable is super important. And so, I'm goofy and I probably say inappropriate things, but I think that makes the students feel a lot more comfortable where they can approach us and ask us and come to us if they have any questions or problems or anything.
Could y'all describe what the award was and what happened?
Well, what was the actual title? I forget.
It's the Association of American Geographers Distinguished Teaching Honors.
So the Association of American Geographers is an organization it's actually worldwide. It's
10,000 members.
Comprised of 10,000 members, mostly academics, but not all. Some professionals in different fields that all do geography in some form or fashion. So it's probably safe to say I would suspect one of the largest, if not the largest, organization of academics that do geography. One of our colleagues, and a good friend of mine actually, that we went to grad school with, that I kept in contact with for some time, largely because we're friends, but also because we do a lot of the same work. And he's been very involved in sort of pushing geography, enhancing the awareness of it. And I think him and others, I don't think I'm misrepresenting him here, sort of valued what we do, particularly the field component. And so effectively he got a number of people and they agreed to nominate us. And that's how it all started. And now it was unusual apparently that there were two people being nominated together. That I don't think had been done before, at least according to anybody's memory. So, but since we do collaborate and a lot of what they found valuable we do together, they said, we'll nominate you both. That's sort of how it's happened. And it wasn't just that. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't mean to get the cart before the horse, but you have, anytime you get nominated for an award, you contact people to try to get letters of reference and things like that. Oftentimes, people don't respond. Or, I'm too busy. Oh, yeah, I think it's great, but I don't have time to. But according to what I'm told, anyway, that overwhelming response. There were people that we knew or were familiar with what we did that responded in a very positive way. So, including a lot of students, which that's probably what really touches me, makes me feel the best about it, what a lot of students contributed to.
Apparently, it's one of the highest honors you can get in geography for teaching, and AG to me was always just something that I didn't think I would even qualify for an award for. So it was nice to get the nomination and eventually the award. I reached out to my mentor, my advisor from graduate school, and I said, "Hey, John and I got this award because we went to we were in the same graduate program." And he was like, I like to see that you're getting recognized for something that's in the field-based, working with students. And he said, you see everything going to computers now, and a lot of people getting their data, doing everything virtually and with computers. And so the fact that you're still doing old school geography, getting out there, I think is really important. Which I was like, yeah, anytime you have a mentor and you hear something so positive, it was really nice.
And I got to tell you this, actually, I got to tell this story. So, we're a little different this way, but I heard we were nominated and sort of out of mind, out of sight, right? I just don't have time to really think about it. If it happens, great. Never thought much about it. But on a field course with a bunch of students, right, that I've been with for a solid week. And they're a great group, but like when you get a group of people and you're out there together, by the end of the week, you're kind of, everybody's patience is kind of being challenged. And so I'm driving a van, and I told everybody, hey, use the restroom. You've heard this before. Use the restroom now. We're not stopping until we get going. And sure enough, we get going, and right down the road, and someone raises her hand, yells my name out. I'm thinking, great. Another stop. Dr. Strait, I want to congratulate you. She had saw the announcement, of the award at Sam Houston State. And I thought, what are you talking about? And I told myself it was fitting that I heard at that moment, right, at that time, for a couple of reasons. One, I don't have to hear, I can't answer any email, so any responses for anybody congratulating me, she had to deal with it. She's a better face for that than me. But I'm with the people that really I would want to be with when I heard something like that, So it was really, I found that really cool.
Yes, can you please describe the process behind y'all's collaborative effort?
Well, it's funny because we're opposite ends of the geography spectrum. So he's more human, cultural geographer. I'm on the environmental side. And for a long time, he would be a professor and I'd be an adjunct teaching wherever we were in Virginia, New Hampshire, Louisiana. And we kind of stayed separate. We didn't really work together. We complemented each other in that, he brought the human side, I brought the environmental side. But we did not work together until we came to Sam Houston, I would say. And he always did field courses. I was too busy with our little kids at home. And then finally there was an opportunity for us to take students to Spain. And I remember, or Hawaii was the first one in 2014, and our kids were still little, and I was very hesitant to take our kids with us on the field course, but it turned out to be an amazing experience. I started to see why he loved taking students in the field, and I had like 15 babysitters that were helping me keep track of the kids, and then before you knew it, the kids were leading the students because they knew what to do, but I loved it. I didn't think I would because I like that personal quiet time at the end of the night, and yeah, after that we were hooked. 20 years into being colleagues, we finally published our first paper together, which I was like, why did it take us 20 years to collaborate? But it all worked out.
I think if I could add to that, it's weird. I think some people have articulated that we're so the same that it should be a joint, and that they clearly don't know us. I think we're very different, and I think the students benefit from that. In fact, we all benefit from that. So, she's a tad bit more organized than me, and so when it comes, there's a lot of organization required to do any pedagogical endeavor, particularly if it's field oriented. At the same time, if it's worth its mustard, it should be you go on a trip, and sometimes you don't know where you're going, and that's a good thing. So we kind of naturally, beyond the environmental expertise and the cultural expertise, we each bring something different. Ava is a little more, not overly so, but this is what we're doing today, and this is, everything's sort of set up. I'm the storyteller. And so, we go where we go. So I think the whole project, if we're doing something together, particularly if it's field related, kind of benefits because we each have strengths and we each have things that we're less strong with. I won't say weaknesses, but so I think that's part of the collaboration that makes it pretty special.
Okay, nice. How do you feel about the support you receive from students and faculty throughout this process? As you mentioned, you had overwhelming support for the references, and people typically wouldn't give the time of day.
You want to answer that? I kind of already did. I can't.
Yeah,
a little more.
I feel like it's been great. Our students have been amazing. What's nice with modern technology and social media and email and everything, you get to keep in touch. So even if we don't see them on a regular basis anymore, they're keeping in touch with us and we're seeing all that they're doing. And so that's nice and rewarding. In terms of faculty, geography is actually a pretty small community where everyone knows everyone. And if you don't know someone, they've worked with someone you know. And we were lucky to be at the University of Georgia for graduate school, and we had an amazing cohort of professors that all became professors that are doing amazing things. And so now when we have students looking at graduate programs, it's like, oh, I know someone there. You know, this is someone we went to graduate school with, and they're doing this kind of research and work, and they're a great person. And so that's always good to have those connections.
I think in terms of, I don't know exactly what we're looking for in this question, but I tell the students all the time, well, they can probably get sick of me hearing this. Students at Samuelson State do not know how lucky they are that we are at a place that we are doing these types of things, because a lot of places they don't, or it's much more expensive, or for that either the faculty don't have time or there's not enough support for it. And you know, both at our departmental level, our whole department, the geologists and the geographers, really value field experiences. So it's really pushed. I think the university values it. So you know, that's one thing I will say. Some of what we are awarded for are because we are a place that supports it, financially and otherwise. So, and students, like I said, I think, you know, any field course, any course in general is only as good as the participants. When I tell students, when we particularly take students in the field, I say the thing that's most valuable to all of us is going to be right here, us. This is who we're learning from. This is what you're going to come away with. And we've been pretty lucky. We've had some good groups, fantastic groups. So, you know, that's really, you know, I would say the award really is more than just us. It's really for a larger group of people, some of which I couldn't name all the names.
A lot of our former students will send us, you know, hey, our company's looking for some interns, or we need somebody for this position. Do you have any good students you would recommend?
I get that all the time.
Which is really nice.
Or we might get, hey, I just had my first child.
Yeah.
Or hey, I'm going to Honolulu. Where can I eat? You know, I mean, no. So
all kinds of. But I like that. I like that the students feel that they can always contact us, and we keep that interaction going.
What advice would you give to students thinking about pursuing a career in higher education?
The advice I give is make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. If it's money, might be a wiser choice, right? At the same time, if you are interested, you know, that to me, motivation is a huge thing in anything really, but in higher ed it really is. If you're interested in learning, that's more important than any kind of intellect the most. I mean, there's a certain level of aptitude, but fundamentally people in this field, this area, are very interested in learning and sharing it with people. And if you are that type of person, and it can be a great experience. You know, I mean, you don't have to wear a tie, you know, but if that's the only reason, probably have to wear a tie, right? I mean, so anyway.
Yeah, I think from my point of view, I think it keeps us young in some ways, in that we're always around, you know, 18 to 25, 30-year-olds and non-traditional students as well. But what I remember thinking was, that's a great time in everyone's life where you are suddenly independent, you're figuring out who you are, you're figuring out what you love, and just seeing that excitement and being around it constantly is very rewarding. So yes, we do not get paid well, but just to always have that energy, I think is is rewarding and nice.
And I would, again, I'd add to that. I think it's a cliche, right? The more you know that you don't know, kind of thing. But all of us, some of us won't admit this. In higher ed, you realize how little you know, right? There's so much more to learn. And that can mean the content or how to teach that content. And I think that can be intimidating to people about higher ed, is that you feel like you're not worthy. And again, I would get back, if you are motivated, you are worthy. Right? At some point you realize it's all a learning process. We all don't know everything. And that's an advice I would give to someone, because if they feel like, well, maybe I'm not ready for this. I've been doing this 20 years, and there's a day I come in class and I don't know if I'm ready to talk about this today. Do I know enough to teach them this? I've been doing it for 20 years, so.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say to faculty, students, friends?
So for students, I always tell them to make the most out of college. Don't choose a major based on the fact that you can make money from it, or your parents are telling you that this is what you should do. Find what you love. And I know the cliche of find what you love, you'll never work a single day in your life, but I truly believe that. When I found geography, it was amazing in that I was like, wow, all of my interests that I've had my whole life, I didn't realize could be done with geography. And so, going to work every day is a joy, and we have our minor complaints here and there, but it really doesn't feel like work, and so it's worth it. Make as many friends and contacts as possible. You don't know if a student sitting next to you in a lecture hall class could be a potential job contact or a lifelong friend. Get to know your professors. Definitely don't. What I hate is I see, and this is unfortunate, that a lot of students work so much, and so they're not getting the full college experience because they're trying to work full time. Which to help pay for college, and then they're trying to be a full time student. Back when we joke about back in the old days when we were in school, we had no car, we had no computer, but you were forced to be on campus and be interacting with the other students and faculty. And I think that's why students nowadays love the field courses, because for a solid week, they aren't working, they're out in the field with us, and they are learning every second that they're out in a new environment. And so just make the most of your time while you're here. And once you get your degree, nobody can take it away, and so that's always rewarding as well.
I guess I would advise students particularly, but faculty as well, is we get caught up with grades. And I'm not saying they don't matter, but you should value this experience for what you learn and what you get out of it. Maybe you learn, I don't like this stuff, or I don't want to do this for a living. But you might learn some things that are really valuable that doesn't show up in a grade, right? And on the flip side of that, I think we do that too. Sometimes it's one of the challenges that you want people to do well, and you feel bad if their grades aren't very high. At some point you tell yourself, you don't know what they got out of this. You don't know what their life is like. So I don't think a student is deficient because they don't get a good grade. I think faculty and students all kind of probably need a lesson to realize that there's an inherent value with higher education that doesn't translate into grades. And I think I like to think faculty know that, but I think sometimes we overlook it too.